Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Lanier, entrepreneur dentist. And today I have the opportunity to interview someone that I found out recently had posted an article about me, and I wanted to hear from him directly. So I found out he's at Meharry, and I wanted to bring on Dr. Medlock. He's getting a chance to come on the podcast, and we're just getting a chance to meet. We have a lot in common. So, Dr. Medlock, how are you, sir?
Dr. Lanier, I'm great. How are you doing today? Pleasure.
Man, it's good. Same here. It's good to meet you finally. And just I was looking over your CV. I see we have a lot in common. I
Yeah.
think you say you're from originally from Alabama, but you went to school at East Carolina University, correct?
Yeah. So my mom was in the military. So I lived in Alabama for a period of time, but I'm originally from South Carolina. But
Oh,
yeah, I went to school at East Carolina. So yeah, I've been a lot of places.
a lot of places in the deep south you hit quite a bit. What do you call it, deep dirty south. You moved around a little bit. Yeah, that's me. I
Yeah.
yeah, from same area in East Carolina, and yeah, went to school in that area, and then we both at Meharry, so we have a lot in common. I have a lot of contacts in Meharry and out now working with me and so forth, and with the alumni and so forth. And then my niece there at Meharry now. My sister is a dentist from Meharry. My cousin was a dentist from Meharry that was before me. So kind of built into that whole network. And then, man, I'm just glad to meet you. Tell me
Yeah.
a little bit more about you and what you're doing now here at Meharry.
Yeah. So I graduated from East Carolina 2023. After that, I had a strong interest in doing surgery. So there's a program called a non-categorical program where you can do 1 year experience of working through oral surgery and doing the ins and outs of all that is oral surgery for a year. And if you want to continue in oral surgery, you can apply for the 4 year program, or you also have the skill set or the foundational things that you learn in oral surgery. You can go into private practice after that. So I had a strong interest in staying in the field and staying in the setting I was in last year. So they offered me the opportunity to stay and work as a practicing clinician and professor.
Oh, excellent, man. This is really good. So
Yeah, so
you're enjoying that, then I would imagine you enjoy it because this is what you want to do.
yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, this is good. So, yeah, I heard that you got my book, and you read the book, The Entrepreneur Dentist, and you had some nice things to say about it. What did you find interesting about the book, and what were you sharing? I didn't get a chance to really find out, but talk about it.
Yeah. So I can tell you about that. So I remember when I first started dental school, my first year, I didn't really have like a mentor or anything like that, or people that really were speaking the language in terms of like how I wanted to have a 5 year or 10 year plan in terms of what I wanted to do with dentistry. So I was searching. I started a lot of books. I started a lot of different podcasts, but none of them really stuck with me and spoke to me the way that your book did. So when I started reading your book, I remember like I read like the first chapter and I read the second chapter. Then I stopped reading it because I was like, I need to have a group of people that I have an opportunity to share this information and we all read it and we want to see how we all different interpret everything in a group discussion. So I started actually a book club just based off that book. So everybody we had to sit down. It was about 5 or 6 of us, and we all had to basically talk about everything that we read and how we interpreted it, and then we just did research based off some of the information that you shared with us. So we did that from start to finish with the book, and it was able to get your perspective on how you did things, but also be like, okay, I want to do this a little bit different. What does it mean to find your niche, and what does that niche look like you? And that really made my identity about how I proceeded through dental school with that mindset and with that understanding of how I wanted to shape my career. And ultimately that's what led me to pursue oral surgery. I found my niche was wanting to work with surgeons, and I'm gonna have a different outlook on terms of like how I pursue surgery once I get into practice. I'm still trying to make like what will set me apart from other oral surgeons. That'll
Exactly,
bring me
man.
great.
I like that. I like that. I like that, Doc, because you're applying one of the main principles in here is finding your niche and then standing in your lane, staying in your lane, and
Yeah.
your niche or your niche, I call it, your niche will make you rich if you stick to that. But because too many, especially GPs, because we try to do sometimes everything.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning to someone that a friend of mine from New Orleans had a card made up, and he wanted to give me his card one day, and he had moved out here to California, and he gave me his card, and it said Joe Atman Services, and I was like, that's not your name. What does Joe Atman mean? And he said, Jack of all trades, master of none.
Uh-huh.
And and I guess he thought it was a cool card, but anytime that you can't really stake what you do, then it's like you're really not good at anything. So you kind of are Joe Atman if you're gonna. And I've seen that over in Huntington Park. This dentist right at the corner. He had a nice intersection, and on the window he had about 35 dental procedures that he does.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, what if he only did one? And then he could get referrals and everybody would come and they think he was good. But when you see everything on there, you need a radiator guy. You want to go to a radiator mechanic. You don't want to go to somebody who's a shade tree mechanic. Doesn't do everything. And that's the thing a lot of times in dentistry. So I think you're spot on with that, Doc. And then deciding. I think there's the things that I'm learning now and I'm trying to mentor or also other business aspects if someone wants to go into private practice and why it's good to leverage that dental license because it's almost a license to print money if otherwise you're working most of the time most dentists graduate and they work as W-2 employees and
Yeah.
as such you can't really build a lot of wealth. You can make money, but you're paying most of it in taxes because you're not building assets that become wealth building assets that appreciate, that grow, that you get deductions on depreciating assets and sometimes accelerated depreciation. There's a lot of things that you could do once you move into ownership, but the thing that happens now, dentistry has changed. Used to be you'd see a dental office, one guy with a shingle there. But now the whole dynamics of business, just in general, used to see pharmacists, but the mom and pop pharmacy totally disappeared. They no longer even exist. Same thing with medicine. You don't really see the standalone uh, medical practice. They have these big group practices where doctors are in there, but something has to be supporting it because you need all of this. You see how you need all of the different things, whether it's HR, all the support services, and that's why the DSOs have moved in, but they're owned by private equity, and the private equity is just rich guys that want to invest their money and get a good return on equity, so on in their investment. So they put it in dentistry, which is so sound. Think about this one, Doc, and talk this one to the people when you're talking.
Yeah.
Why is dentistry one of the few professions that you could walk out almost first year? They want you to have a year or two under your belt, and they'll loan you 100% to start a practice and get a building. But very few people would take it because they say, well, radio, $400,000 in student loans or something like that. And
Yeah.
that's because of the fear of the unknown. And it's probably a wise thing to do because unless you have that group, that mastermind, like you talked about, everybody working together and then forming the group so you could flatten the cost curve and the economies of scale. A lot of things I threw out here, but I'm telling you, if you and your group get into that and understanding some of the and build a little financial acumen, whereas you really understand the the leverage you have with this dental license and
Yeah.
how you could use it. But you can't do it all solo. It has to be collaboration across a bigger and bigger, because the bigger you are like that, and I talked about the exit strategy in my book.
Yeah.
Um, that's the other thing is One day, everybody wants it. Now you're trying to get in, but one day you want to get out.
Yeah.
And my grandmother used to say, it's a poor rat that only got one hole to run to. You got to have a hole to run in, and then if it closed out, you got to have one to run out. So you got to have a way when you go in, thinking how you're going to get out. And
Yeah.
that is, yeah, man. I'm telling you, I'd like to be able to, if you ever want, I'm going to be doing more recordings, and I'll talk about some of those things. But I'm just hogging the time now. Let me let you ask questions, and I'll answer it. So I've been talking too much.
No, and I appreciate everything. You were basically summarizing a lot of things that I read in the book. And one thing that's really important that I took away from the book is collaboration. And the point of you saying about being a jack of all trades but master at none. When we go in dental school and we don't really understand the exit strategy, we try to hoard everything for ourselves and don't understand the benefit of being fruitful to other people and how that really works in your favor, because you can have a better product when it's things that you can have more control over and you are a master of a given skill instead of trying to take on everything. And that also goes when you talk about having accountants, dental accountants. Like, everybody wants to keep everything in house. Like, you're your own accountant, you're your own business manager, and you're your own like law firm or different things like that. When you have other people that are experts in those fields, they own, and you're expert in the given thing that you have interest in, then it only complements everything, or the outcome of that product that you're trying to deliver, or the outcome of your business is fine tuned because you have other people complementing what you have going on when they're excellent in the execution of their given skill set. And that
Exactly.
is very, very important. And
Very important, Doc. That because, and that even now I'm learning, because before I owned 100%, and I was always trying to, of course, save money. I did have a lot of people working for me, but I try to keep and save as much. And now I do regular meetings, and I have a mastermind group, and I don't mind even paying, people that are there, and they're everybody's getting paid. And I have, some of and they're the highest paid there because they're specialists in whatever it is they do, whether it's operations, HR, and all of them have a lot of experience and a lot of years. So we sit there for an hour, and I'm always open to some kind of criticism or feedback. I'm asking for feedback. What's your thoughts on that? And most of them don't hold back because they know Dr. Lanier is not going to. But and sometimes I'll tell them, because as the CEO, I fall back on what my dad used to say: take everyone's consent, use your own judgment. You still have to make the call, but you would like to have an informed decision. So
yeah,
you want to get it from everybody. And like you said, if they're experts, and like a lot of times now, I have my attorney and CPA on, I join the meeting. If it's something that's really critical, I want everybody there. And, let me know before I make a move, because sometimes you make a move and it's wrong, and you pay dearly on the other side, especially when it comes down to legal matters and tax consequences and things like that.
yeah,
So as you build a bigger team, you can afford it to centralize things, and you have this core group, and then they form things. And that's how a lot of these other DSOs and guys that have built them quickly, is because they do build this group and they learn to share. And the way you do that, though, is you have to be willing to pay the attorney fees to set it up right.
yeah,
That's what we're doing now. We're setting up another DSO, a new one, because I sold the previous one, and it's mostly between $30,000 to really set it up the way that it has to run. But then once you do, you have to go ahead and scale and bring in other practices. So what we're doing now is, with the new brand, Kids to Dentist, and we also have an adult brand, but I haven't really focused, because my main thing is pedo and mostly GPs, but it's actually clinically is ran by uh, board certified pediatric dentists that are doing working with the GPs that decide to stay in one lane and just do uh, pediatric dentists as a GP, and that way we can kind of have everything monitored. He does continuing ed training and so forth and monitoring, and we become really good at that, and we can monitor the brand, and we can centralize everything so that we just keep expanding. And it's beautiful, and we're trying to do now California and then the entire southeast, and go all the way across actually the south.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting. And I just hired a CEO. I'm stepping down as the CEO in May. May
Yeah.
1 is my birthday. I'm going to step down. I have an MBA that's going to take over.
Yeah.
And that is, see, and that's all new for me. I've never been at that point before, whereas I step away and become like chairman and let a CEO run it. And I think that way we go to another level. And I'm just excited about it. I hopefully we can make some things work together, Doc, because when I meet people like yourselves, I
Yeah.
always say it came from above. I don't, things don't just happen. I don't think that and believe in accidents. It's just incidents that we misclassify. So I call them those things that the Heavenly Father just put before me. So you're in my path now, man, and we have to see what we're going to do together. I'd
Yeah.
like for you to see what I'm doing, and I'm going to ask Furman to, well, I'll show it on a follow-up video. My newest project, I'm launching one in about 2 or 3 weeks. December, I think the first or second week in December, we're launching this new office in Delano. It is beautiful. I put a lot into it. The launch is just pre-Christmas. That's another thing when you launch. It's
Yeah.
like you have to, anytime you're getting something off the ground, my background is sales and marketing. So
Nice.
when you're getting ready to launch, bro, you got to put a lot of rocket fuel. You got to burn some rocket fuel. Most people aren't willing to do it. But if you're going to break gravity, you got to burn some until you get it out there. And you want everybody to see it. This little light of mine, you got to let it shine. And we polish it up and we just get it out there. Everybody in the community, we become a part of it. I wanted you guys to see that, because if you're ever going to do something, I'm telling you, this is where I'm really good at it. I like this part. I like polishing up. I like the presentation, because the whole thing of sales is got to have a product, and then you package it, and then you present it. And that's what we do. We go through the whole thing. I used to sell clothes. I used to sell books door to door. I can sell, I just like getting with people and letting them see what I have to offer. Step in here, let me show you
Yeah.
this. And that's
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's what we do, man. So
Yeah.
and the same thing with dentistry. Most people don't want to think about it, but it is a business, and you're actually selling.
Yeah.
Even when you're at the chair, you have to sell yourself to a parent, if and the kid, if you're working with pediatrics, or if you're doing oral surgery, you got to sell a person on your confidence, like, yeah, this. And once they know that you're confident, then it kind of makes them relax, whatever it is. And that's why it's just, I love it, man. Because our product is our service, and the way we present ourselves. And I don't know, it's just it's such a gift. And once you have that license, like I said, if you want to go to that next level, just have to add some business skills. And it's not really taught at dental school, and it probably shouldn't be. Just, enough, I think enough to get you out there, but I think that's where people let their education stop, and they figure, well, I've already got that. But that's when it should begin. It should begin to go towards, let me educate myself on how I'm going to do the business side, because and I'm talking too much. I should be asking questions, but the last thing I want to state before I go there is, how do I prevent giving all of the money I'm making, give it back to the government? Because you have these graduates, the more money you make, the more they're going to take, and now with Trump as president, here's the thing: businesses are going to get the breaks. Employees aren't really getting breaks. The businesses are going to get the breaks. I'm in real estate. I'm going to benefit greatly. The thing with the kids on Medicaid, I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm still going to benefit. And then the thing is, you're going to get a lot of tax breaks if you own assets and if you're an entrepreneur. That's how to become wealthy. So that's why they need to tune into my show. And I'll stop talking. Ask me a few more questions, Doc. I'd like to keep going.
I really appreciate that feedback. I do have some questions that I wanted to ask. So in terms of like, it seems like you've had a lot of success. What do you feel like maybe was like the top two failures that you feel like you've learned the most for from like in your process to ascending to where you are now?
Uh,
Or biggest setbacks, not failures.
yeah, I think the setbacks are, it's hard to because I'm like you were saying, there've been some setbacks. Um, I think my biggest one was once I had a lot of offices, and in the state of California, we were dealing with a lot of kids that were Medicaid, and I had a doctor that I knew he wasn't ready. He was doing things and they weren't, meeting the standard of care that we wanted at that office, but we were short of providers, and I let him go. And then another doctor left, so I needed to bring somebody in, brought him back, put him to work after talking to him and showing him different things. And then some of his work went out. The office got audited. That put because I was a billing provider, it put me under this whole surveillance thing, and all because I did not terminate someone that I knew wasn't. And I think you look back on that and say, well, I learned from that.
Mhm.
Anytime you monitor anybody that's working under you, regardless of what they're doing, always monitor. And when it goes below your standard, terminate it. Even if you have to shut down, you can't. You have to say you have to meet my standard, and you know what your standard is. And unless they meet your standard,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I think cut it down because you'll pay for it later.
Mhm.
But the thing and it was good the way you structured that, because I have a friend that he does some consulting on self development, and one of the things he said sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. So I think that's the thing, is if you can write them all off as a education, and you're learning, you're going forward. As long as we're moving, and you're going to have some obstacles that you're going to meet. But if you don't spend too much time trying to go through the obstacles, learn to go around them, under and over, because you got to keep moving and just learn from them. Even if you lose a lot of money, if you're going to make, 15, 20, 30 times, 100 times that in the near future, don't dwell on it too much. You learn something from it, because all of us run into those things, some setbacks and so forth. Well, the big thing is, don't let the setbacks paralyze you and cause you to stop going towards the goal. And if your goal is still down the road, don't spend too much time at this little bus stop or pit stop. Get back on the highway and keep moving, because you still got to go through some stuff. That was just one of those things. And use all of them as something that the Creator gave you. God gave you that to learn from, and then to get. So don't write it off as a failure. Well, I guess you could count them as failures, but hey, you could count them really as just something that didn't work, and let me get back on.
Mhm.
Yeah, my wife constantly reminds me of the things I failed at, and I
Mhm.
have to tell her, I kind of write them. I really do. Some of them are some big setbacks, and kind of memorable. You lose a lot of money on something that, but if you I try to put it well, at one point I didn't have any money. So everything I have is gravy, I'm playing with house money anyway, so I could just do it. I lose it, I'll get it back. Some days I'm up a lot, sometimes I'm down a lot, but it's not mine. And if I lose it, at least I know enough now I can pretty much create whatever I want as I go. And I wouldn't be there unless I tried a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that feedback. Another question I always have is like, what, like, were there certain people in your life that came into your life that helped you develop this foundation of understanding about like business and the balance between dentistry? Like, how did that all come together for you? Like, did that's just like how you process things and you were looking at it from out into in perspective, or did somebody like speak that into your life, or was it
No,
like reading or?
well, I think the main thing that got me going, well, like I said, when I was in undergrad, I did jobs whereas I was, waiting tables, bussing and
Yeah,
waiting tables. And then I started selling clothes and became kind of sales oriented. But then right before attending Meharry, I went to this thing. I went with this group, right? And I didn't even attend my own college graduation at Central. Because we had to go to Nashville for this training, and they had a week-long training with just sales guys, kind of Tony Robbins kind of guys,
yeah,
and the guys that preceded Tony Robbins and so forth. But a whole week of that, and then they send you to different sites. Some I went to Detroit. My friends went to Cleveland. But you sold books door to door, and the thing I was telling my son yesterday, two of the main principles that he taught us, and this is something that will get you a long ways in life, is the law of large numbers and the law of averages. Because
mhm,
if you learn any kind of sales script and you get better at it, and then you have this thing, well, if I present it enough to enough people
yeah,
and I say it right, somebody is going to buy. So the law of large numbers and the law of averages say this one didn't buy. And we used to say 17 was the number when we were selling, knocking on doors. And, number 15, I got rejection. Somebody's getting ready to buy, so you keep going. And I think that's something in life that, because most people, when they get knocked back, they sit back and they stop. Let me go back to where I was. But if you already have in your mind, no, I'm out here, I play the long game. It's the law of large numbers and the law of averages. I don't lose. Because anytime you tell me no, I'm just getting closer to a yes. And you just keep going, like that. But the other thing is actually deciding to go and do self development and pay for it. Because I've had people laugh at me when I tell them I'm going to, and Jim Rome was one of my mentors, and I used to go and pay to see him. And he was the one that got Tony Robbins started. I spent a whole week in Fiji with Tony Robbins and a group of wealthy people hanging out there. Because if you don't get your mind right, you can't challenge yourself to go up against a lot of these things because most people are saying, no, don't do that. This is what everybody's doing. And then you're going to be doing what everybody's doing. But for you to do what very few people are going to do, you got to get this part right first, and you got to challenge yourself. Say, yeah, I'm going at it, and I think I'm going to win. But you have to have those things, and then you need to read from those people and study and be around some of those people if you're going to actually reach for big things. Because like they say, even Michael Jordan had a coach. Everybody has, somebody kind of in their head telling them, yeah, you're good. Let's do this and
yeah,
strategizing with them. But then, I think that's a big thing is self-development. You
yeah,
have to invest in yourself. And that is and it's more than what most people really think of. You can educate yourself and, get a doctorate degree, a postdoctorate degree, and so forth. But it's not going to convert to wealth until you build a business acumen that allows you to accumulate wealth. And the sooner you get that, but I don't because and I've been probably accused by people of being greedy or rich and want to. And the thing is, I don't want to live that way. Hopefully, because I look to a higher power and a higher life. I'm just passing through this thing, but I
yeah,
do like playing the game. I don't gamble when I'm in Vegas. I don't, a lot of things that other people do is spend their time. But I enjoy the game. It's just, but the way that you count this to determine whether you're winning is it's like you make money, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think so. You make money, and if you do it and you stay within, and if you run a good business, you're going to do good service. You're going to employ a lot of people. You're going to do a lot of things that I think bring the world up. So I see a lot of good things that can happen, but you got to have that business acumen if you want to do it as an entrepreneur. Just keep going in that direction.
yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things I also took away from your book is that you have to be intentional about the things that you want. If you want to become financially confident or business minded, you have to be forward about that. Yes, dental school, their priority is not to teach you business, but you have to master that skill and then complement that skill by going forward and learning the business side of everything as well. Like when I read your book, I was able to go through dental school better because I knew there was something else that I wanted to get to. Like when I was just like I was walking through dental school and I was like, okay, I don't really know what comes after this, so I'm just taking things as they come and I'm doing the assignments when they're due. But then when I found start reading your book and I had a vision, an understanding of what my career was going to look like, I started running. I started enjoying. I was like, oh man, I gotta get done with these restorations. I gotta know how to do crown. Like I'm literally I literally I remember after reading that book, I used to leave at 5 and go home and like I did everything the professors wanted me to do. But after reading the book and I was doing things a little more purposefully, I was not leaving at 5 because I did what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what they wanted me to do and then master it that same day or keep
Yes.
mastering it to the best of my ability that day. So when they came back the next day, I was being more efficient with my time in terms of getting everything that I wanted out of school so that I'm not having to go and do extra programs to pick up stuff that I should have already got at the first level. Like and
Man.
it's all because I found that purpose through reading your book that I was able to execute school better.
Man, I love that, Doc. I love it because, and that's the thing. Even my wife and I, we've been together for 21 years, and
Yeah,
she always said, "Well, you're lucky," and I
yeah,
said, "Well, yeah, it's luck, but if like you said, if you're not intentional, after a while, you're not really because, like to say, the man on the top of the mountain didn't accidentally fall up there.
yeah,
We had to have some intention of getting there and mapping it out. You probably are lucky, that things don't happen along the way, but you have to have some design to get there. You have to design a plan and start walking and taking that first step. And I was telling my niece who is becoming my new CEO,
mhm,
part of the thing I want her to have keep in mind, you will not know what's around the corner. The only thing you're going to know is what your intention is, and you got to have faith and confidence. And the more you go and the more experience you get, then the more confidence you're going to get. Just like I opened an office and I hired this doctor, so it's a new office, and it is really killer. I put a lot of design, a lot into it, and so forth. I
yeah,
love this little place because that's part of what I do. I like designing things that make an imprint on the community, and when people ride by, they're like, "Damn, that's cute. That's different,"
yeah, yeah,
and then they're like, "Wow, you can't forget it." It's like one of those. But it's that, and she said, "Well, doctor, what if it fails?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "What if it doesn't work?" And I started laughing. I was like, "Doc, they always work." No, no. Over the years, I've had a
yeah,
few that fail, but now at this point in my life, it's not like I don't have that chance, that opportunity to fail. It's just not there for me anymore. I have to make it work, and because of the experience and the people I have and what I do, it's going to work. And I always have that confidence. It's not even a question in my mind when I'm doing something. What if it fails? But I can understand if it's somebody who's never done it before, and they could think like that. What if it fails?
yeah,
But after you've been doing something so long, even now, you've been doing this oral surgery. If you've done it enough, you can look at it too. You're like, no, that one's simple. It's
yeah,
not, I'm not going to have a problem with that.
yeah,
It's just that kind of thing. And the same thing when you're doing certain things. And I've gotten to that level because I experienced it. And the thing I like about someone like yourself, you're reaching for it. I'm amazed that very few people ask, and even a lot of them that work for me for years, but a few I could tell that they're entrepreneurs and they're going to go out and get it. They will ask, but then a lot of times after I give them share everything, sometimes they want to compete with me, or I don't know whether they could kind of how is that? The rappers say hate you because it can't be you or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
They
saying,
hating
man,
on you.
let's just,
Yeah,
yeah, or something like that. And I was like,
yeah,
man, just let's just join forces, Doc. I'm the one that, gave you all of that and trying
yeah,
to help you. But, and then I've had some that try to go out and steal my stuff and replicate and almost use my logo and the name. And then the next thing you know, they failed at it, something, they went too fast, didn't get everything because it looks easy. But until you establish that foundation and get it started, that you're learning, then you could get out there and fail. But because especially if you start borrowing a lot of money and doing different things and you're not watching everything, then it can fail. But if you put that team together, that mastermind group that because you worked around them for years or you stole them somewhere where they've been in the industry a long time and they know it better than you, they help run it and they're watching everything, you could do extremely well. Like I said, that's why these private equity firms are pushing so much money into dentistry because they know that it's the goose that lays the golden egg. And I think that we as dentists should partake. So what I'm doing now is rather than having all associates, I want the dentist to come in and be a co-owner. They get the same benefits and write-off deductions and so forth as if regular owner, but then we have a management company that takes care of all the support services and so forth. But rather, also aside from that, now when they get ready to exit or go to market to sell, they're at a higher multiple of EBITDA, in which is the profit. So they get to that. And there's a lot of things to learn, a lot of terminologies, EBITDA and all of that. But the
yeah,
one thing I want anyone that's watching this to know, you have to have a business to take advantage of the tax deductions and the appreciation of assets and building wealth. If you're letting the private equity companies take all of that and get all of the advantages, then you're being slave labor. Even for me, I got where I'm at by having associates work for me. But I think now, building wealth and sharing with doctors is just a better way because that way they get locked in. They're building their wealth. They're not going to run and jump and start working somewhere else or compete against me because I'm making them wealthy. Plus, so that's the thing about collaboration and so forth. So hopefully, Doc, you can help me spread the word about what we're doing, and
yeah.
I'll spread the word about what you're doing. And let's collaborate. Let's work together. Oh, I'm not going to go until I say this. I'd like to invite you to a launch if you're free in December. I'll send you an invite to a launch. If you can't make it live, then we're going to record it and we'll send it to you. But I'm telling you, one of the biggest launches that I've ever done, I'm doing for this office so that once we open day one, I have my doctors busy as hell. And it's like catching
Yeah,
traction from day one. You want to, when you've seen those cars at the racetrack when they back up and they burn them out and then they
yeah,
pull back on the line. They want traction from get go, and that's what I look for. I don't have time to sit there like the people take. And after about 3 years, you build up. You have no, I don't have that kind of time. Let's go from get go, and then I'll show you how that's done, and then you'll start to have confidence more in what I'm doing. One day we'll work together, man. I'm telling you.
yeah. No, I love that, and I would appreciate the opportunity and be honored if I can come to that grand opening that you're going to have in December. That'll be a great opportunity to come out there and be a part of that environment.
Yeah, yeah, and we want to because we want to be live casting that and to the world.
Yeah,
And I'd love for you to be there. I'm going to have a lot of my top people out there. Some of the people I'd love for you to meet that are participating in this new DSO. I'd like for you to see it.
yeah,
Then
nice.
share it with your network. All right.
Yeah, of course, I got you.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Doc. Well, listen, man, I so much appreciate everything that you're doing and bumping me up. So, listen, I'm gonna come to Meharry. Get me an invite. I'd love to come and speak to your group at Meharry.
Yes, sir.
I'll come there anytime. And I got some. There's also opportunities because someone like yourself knows a whole network of dentists that recently graduated. Not only Meharry, Howard and other doctors. We're going to do big things, and I need someone that can represent for me as to the other young graduates like yourself. And let's talk about that more.
Yes, sir. Yeah, got you. It's been a great honor, and thank you again for having me.
All right. Thank you, Doc.